Our next presenter this morning is from John Deere, Jason Tucker. He's been with John Deere for quite a while. It's a 21-year career. That's a long time, and we were discussing outside the room this morning. Certainly seen a lot of changes in technology over that period of time, and that's certainly what we want to have him address today is the farming technology outlook. Today, Jason directs all sales activities for the western half of the U.S. This includes channel development activities, executing customer satisfaction acquisition activities, and developing a staff of division and territory sales managers. Some of you last year had the opportunity to visit their training center in Orlando at the Potato Expo and give us some insight into the level of technology that's actually being carried out and researched there. So Jason, please join us.
All right, well, good morning. So the Potato Summit. So first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to Buzz and to Mark and the Potato Growers Association for allowing us to be part of this event. It's a big event for us. Obviously, the summit here, we get to visit with you, but also as part of the Expo, we have a booth, and we get to share some of the technology and some of the activity of where we're going as a company. But secondly, and perhaps most importantly, I'd like to say thank you, and specifically to the growers in the room that run green paint. I would really like to say thank you. And I am a sales guy, so for those of you that don't run green paint, see me at break. Couldn't get by with it, Tim, I knew it. All right, so technology, 21-year career with John Deere. Yes, I've had the opportunity to see many things evolve as a manufacturer of equipment. And as a manufacturer of technology, an integrator of technology, I've seen many things evolve over the course of that 21 years relative to our equipment and how we enable producers, enable growers to farm better. And the reality is for 182 years, that's exactly what John Deere's been doing. Core of who we are is to help customers, help growers, help producers farm better. Whether that's through the machinery, through the data that comes to help make the decisions, punchline is to help farm better. So they asked me, Jason, you're a sales guy, but we want you to come and speak to us about technology. Let me give you my context for technology. What Kevin didn't allude to is that I grew up in a great state of North Carolina. So here's my context of technology. Some, 25, 30, 40 years ago, 70s and 80s, my concept in particular around potatoes was about a 5-acre farm in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains and a single bottom plow pulled by a red belly Ford and picking up potatoes by hand. That's my concept of technology. So what I get to share with you over the next 15 minutes or so, you'll know what my context of technology is. But all joking aside, as it relates to this outlook of technology and this outlook of how it relates to farming, you guys and gals know it better than we do at John Deere. The outlook is fast and furious. Over the last decade, over the last 5 years, we've seen more technology, we've seen more integration of software, we've seen more sensors being put on these pieces of machinery. Our 8R tractor has significantly more sensors than the first space shuttle, all joking aside, right? And we're not the only ones. Case, New Holland, they would all be the same relative to sensors. So we've seen a fast and furious evolution. I'm here to tell you that the next 5 years are going to blow our minds, right? It's going to continue to be fast and furious relative to the evolution of technology and farming. But we like to think of it pretty simplistic, and I told you my context, so this is Jason's perspective as it relates to technology. We're only going to invest in technology, and we're only going to bring you technology that helps you farm better. How do we think about that? First and foremost, it's got to be relevant, right? Not technology for technology's sake, but relevant to what you're trying to accomplish. Relevant to your machine, relevant to your operation, relevant to the jobs that you're trying to accomplish. Secondly, it's got to be intuitive. Why is Apple so successful? Their products are intuitive, right? Darn near anybody can pick that up and use it, right? The average age of the user, I think, is well into the 60s. I mean, they make these products intuitive. we've got to do the same as it relates to technology and our machinery, both on the machine but also off the machine, which I'll talk a little bit about relative to software. And the third thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is there has to be an outcome that's derived from that technology. And I'll end with that today relative to those outcomes that are derived from that technology. But first, as we introduce technology, we've got to make it relevant, we've got to make it intuitive, and we've got to derive an outcome with that technology. We've had the opportunity as John Deere to speak at this summit a couple of years now. I think this is the third year, at least the third year. And a couple of years ago, some of you probably remember this slide, this exact same slide. And as we shared this slide with you, it really was about how John Deere is thinking differently, in particular around the machine space related to data and related to how we think about a production system. So historically, obviously, we still do have a lot of engineers that build combines, a lot of engineers that build planters, a lot of engineers that build sprayers, right? And just different pieces of machinery. But the reality is, you as growers and our customers, they don't necessarily look at it as individual pieces of machinery. You look at it as a production system. You look at it as an opportunity to prepare your soil and the opportunity to gather data, gather information as you get prepared to plant. And then as you plant, right, you got a data collector going across the ground, that planter, that tractor. It's data collectors. You got to integrate that with what you figured out as you went across the field, tilling and preparing the seed bed. Then you've got to integrate that with what comes next, which is taking care of the crop, right? The nurture stage, the spraying, all the fungicides, herbicides, things that get put on the crop. And then that most important step, some would say it was planting, seeding, obviously, but also harvest. And why would we say that harvest? That yield data, that what did I actually produce, and being able to take that data, that information, and make better decisions for the other steps in the cycle. So that's really foundational for what is John Deere's precision ag strategy, is how do we enable data and information to be connected. And we believe in this outlook of farming technology that that's really going to be the differentiator. There's going to be plenty of software companies that are going to do great, great things. There's going to be plenty of machine manufacturers that are going to do great, great things relative to their machines and the technology in the machine. But where the opportunity lies, we believe, is in how you integrate all that so that, again, it's relevant, right? It's intuitive, and it drives an outcome for you as producers, as growers. Last year, we had an opportunity to visit with you about some investments that we've made in this technology space. We talked about Blue River Technologies, machine intelligence, right? We really made a shift, and I think the industry in total is making this shift, but we at John Deere certainly have made this shift from just continuing every year to come with a larger piece of machinery, a heavier piece of machinery, a faster piece of machinery, to a more intelligent piece of machinery, a smarter piece of machinery, a machinery that truly is a data collector and then an implementer of decisions that you as growers and our customers are making. And so we've evolved in our thinking a little bit, and we had an opportunity to share that with you last year. So this year, I want to continue actually right on the same theme, and we are continuing to make significant investments in how we bring technology into our machines. Again, both in the machine, and I'm going to share an example with you there, but also outside of the machine and how our dealer channel, right, the most important ingredient relative to getting localized with how we support these products and this technology, about how they are making investments as well, and how the investments we're making in the machine is enabling greater levels of support. So I'm going to share a couple examples there with you. We've gone well beyond this GPS thing of driving a tractor straight, right? Kind of like that top picture shows of being able to drive a tractor straight. We are focused heavily now on making sure that every seed that's put in the ground counts. Not just a patch of seeds, not just an acre of ground, but literally every seed, every plant that is put in the ground counts. And we can track it. We can make sure we believe the industry is going to a place where we're going to be able to understand how every individual plant is reacting to the inputs we put in the ground. Make every drop count. Water. I heard it at least a dozen times in the other presentations this morning, right? It's either too much or too little, right? Every single year, we as a farming organization, we as a growing organization, we've got to make every drop count. We've got to make those inputs, and I used water as an example, but every input that we put on a crop has got to count. We've got to have the data, the collection, the technology capability to make sure that counts. And then at John Deere, we have a saying that we need to make every pass count, right? But certainly capture every harvest. Make sure that as these data collectors, these large pieces of machinery are going across the field multiple times, that we're collecting that data, collecting that information, and we're making better decisions as a result of it. So, a couple of things that I wanted to share with you here relative to making this tangible, because we can talk about all that stuff. We can talk about the outlook of those kinds of technologies coming, being good for the industry, but the reality is if it doesn't work on your operation or a customer's operation, if it doesn't work with their crop, with their machine, and with their ground, and they can make their decisions, then it doesn't work. So I'm going to give you an example here. And I know we're at a potato summit here, but I'm going to use a combine example. Many of you I know, now I don't know a whole lot, but I do know potatoes aren't harvested by combines. But I'm going to use a combine example here because I want to share with you that this technology that we have integrated into our combines is something that we can take across multiple pieces of equipment. And as a matter of fact, if you visit the John Deere booth, you're going to be able to see some of this technology down there as well. And again, another reason I want to use the combine example is, anybody ever heard of the Consumer Electronics Show? Well, that just happens to be going on this week, and for the first time ever, guess what is setting in Las Vegas? A John Deere S700 Series combine, because we're showcasing the amount of technology and the level of sophistication in this particular thing I'm getting ready to talk about inside of our combine. So last year, we introduced in our model year 18 combines, S700 Series combines, something called Intelligent Combine Adjust. Right? And we're able to take the strategy of what I talked about earlier, making all those things kind of count, and we're able to, on the go, that combine with machine intelligence is able to self-adjust based on the parameters that you as growers or the grower set in the combine. And oh yeah, by the way, through Harvest Mobile, you can look mobily at adjusting that combine as conditions change, as the day goes on, as the moisture changes in the crop, as the ground changes, all the things that are there, as they change, you can set your parameters, the combine will self-adjust. Anybody have any labor shortages, labor challenges? Yeah, that's true on all farms, right? Well, the reality is, as these machines get more intelligent, the skill of the operator can actually, doesn't have to be exponentially great like it had to be in the past. Right? And so just some of those things come to fruition. But here's to me, again, integration where the rubber meets the road. That data, that information off that combine, how you set it, how you run it, can wirelessly go into our operations center, right, where we integrate this data. You can decide to take that data, couple it with your tillage data, your planting data, your spraying data, and you can make better decisions on what you're doing with that combine. And oh yeah, by the way, the next year you plant, you can make those decisions as well. And so all that is being integrated. And oh yeah, by the way, if you want to pull in some data and some information from a third party, not just John Deere data or data off a John Deere machine, we enable that as well. So that's the future. That's just a glimpse. And you will see at the booth and at the Expo here, you will see yield documentation for potatoes. You know, it's true for sugar beets. It's true for onions, a couple of other specialty crops that we've introduced, but yield documentation lets you get on-the-go harvest information that you can wirelessly put into the John Deere Operations Center and use that data coupled with other data that you might have, right, on the crop and make better decisions. So we're enabling that, and that's the technology that you'll see John Deere continue to invest in the future. I want to shift gears just a little bit here because I do want to give you an example, and I know time goes by fast. I've only got 15 minutes, and it's hard to talk about all the technology excitement. But one piece of technology that is just core to I believe not just the current, but certainly as we go into the future, is these machines are sophisticated. But these machines are also live, meaning they are continuously talking to us, if you as a grower choose to allow them to do that. They're continually talking to your John Deere dealer, if you as a grower allow that. We've got over 1,500 John Deere dealer servicing locations across North America. Obviously, significantly more than that in the world, but across North America, over 1,500 servicing locations. Yes, these dealers have scaled, right? There's just like in our farming communities, just like there's been consolidation. There's also been consolidation in our dealer channel. But the reality is that consolidation has driven opportunity in the technology space. It's driven opportunity for those dealers to be able to scale up and provide a level of support via the technology on the machine and the technology they're investing in to support customers to a whole new level. And I'll get into this just a little bit more, but in 2011, which I was sharing with someone this morning, that was a whopping 8 years ago, really 7 years ago since we just started 2019. That's an eternity in technology speak. On all of our machines that are production ag machines, we put a telematics gateway. That's simple speak for every machine that's out in the field has the ability to communicate information, communicate data wirelessly, back to John Deere if you so choose, back to your dealer if you so choose. I can tell you that over the course of, and literally I'm just going to use data sets mid-2017, 66 million hours, machine hours have been monitored by our dealers. And these are pictures of dealer operation centers. There's a dealer in the room today, or someone that runs John Deere dealerships in a room today that has exactly one of these setups. And in reality, is the only way we're able to do this, and there are other manufacturers going to do this as well, but the only way we as an industry are able to do this is through the technology we're putting on the machines. But again, it only matters if it helps you locally make decisions. And that's what I want to talk about here real quickly. John Deere Connected Support is what we call this. So I talked about technology on the machine to help you farm better, collecting the data. Well, there's also machine health data, right? What is the number one, I'll call it, issue relative to machines when you're trying to get a crop in or you're trying to harvest a crop? It's downtime, right? It's downtime. Well, the evolution of technology has enabled John Deere to go from a reactive support mechanism for growers and just when it breaks we'll fix it to significantly more of a proactive prognostic kind of approach. Again, you get to choose whether or not your dealer has these capabilities, but I want to talk about 4 specific areas that technology in the machines and technology at our dealerships allow them to support you in a much higher level to help you farm better, to help growers farm better. First, monitors alerts coming from each machine. Many of you probably flew here, and as you were flying on those airplanes, the reality is the amount of information from that airplane that was being transmitted back to Boeing or McDonnell Douglas or whoever the manufacturer of that plane was to run through some algorithms and say, how can we make this plane even more safe and how can we keep it from having any downtime was incredible. Well, the reality is our tractors and combines and sprayers do the same thing. It's communicating data back to John Deere to say, how can we make this machine better? How can we make this machine not break down? What are those things that are occurring? Run the algorithm and say, how can we proactively stop that or halt that from occurring? So expert alerts, we call it. So our dealers have the ability to receive, your machines can talk to them through this technology, have the ability to receive those expert alerts, monitor it, and proactively take care of problems before they occur. Diagnose problems remotely. So here's another one where because of Service Advisor Remote, right, you not only can plug into a CAN bus and do some diagnostics when your tractor, your combine, your sprayer is at a dealership, now we can do it remotely. What does that mean? That means less downtime. Why is that? Because the dealer can actually make, if they have to have a service call because you got something going on with your machine, they can actually show up at your place with the right part, with the right technician and get it fixed and get you back up and running. Just a simple example. View in-cab display, right? These machines are technologically advanced. I talked about the combine and having the ability to adjust on the go, having the ability to ensure that the crop is being harvested the way it should be harvested. How many times you harvest? Once a year, right? Sometimes you forget in 11 months, 10 months, what that looks like, right? And how to make sure that machine is set right. We can remote into our dealers through this technology, can remote into that display. They can, you know, they've if you allow them, they've tracked kind of what you've set up, and they can help you, right? And they can provide that support. Hey, optimize it this way, or hey, here's some things that we see, you know, working in your type of ground. Perform software updates. It's technology. Software will need to be updated, right? When does your iPhone update? Probably at the most inopportune time. Don't answer that question. But it typically updates overnight, right? It typically updates when you're not using it. Well, the reality is that's exactly what we want to get to with this type of machine, these machines and this technology, is we want to be able to update these machines when you're not using them, when our growers don't need them, right? Overnight, or when they're just idling, or when they're not in production, if you will. So I scratched the surface. There's many, many more, but I wanted to highlight kind of four distinct opportunities that technology today, and this is today, so you can imagine where that technology can go over the next half a decade or so. So I'll wrap it up with this slide. I said we're going to be fast and furious in technology. As John Deere, we're going to focus and invest in technology to help our customers farm better. But we're gonna make sure, first and foremost, that it's relevant, that technology is relevant to the jobs you're trying to accomplish, or growers are trying to accomplish. We're gonna make sure it's intuitive, and we're gonna make sure it drives outcomes. What are some of those outcomes? That's exactly what you see on the slide here. Talked about inputs this morning. Cost of them just keeps going down, right? Not so much. Right? We've got to make sure that we're managing them appropriately. We're giving you the opportunity to manage them appropriately, driving to an outcome of reducing the inputs, improving the resources, right? Whether that's humans, whether that's land resources, all the resources that go into a grower's operation. How can we leverage technology to improve those resources and how they're being managed? Minimize land impact, right? Growers are the greatest stewards of land there is, right? How do we use technology to continue to help them minimize the impact of that land for a sustainability? Lower cost, right? We wake up every day at John Deere thinking about how we can enable customers to be more profitable. There's an input element to that, and there's a yield element to that. But we're going to leverage technology to help you do that. And then you see that last one there, ease of use. It has to be intuitive. Labor challenges will still be there, and the complexity of the business will still be there, so we've got to make it easy. So I flew over that in a quick hurry there, but thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the future of ag technology, but also, or farming technology, but also kind of some of the things we're doing today. And once again, thank you for your business. Kevin?